Welcome to the Raven Space on YouTube. My name is Jason, and this is Raven Space Mailbag, where we answer your questions about the Baltimore Ravens. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll hop right in. Please subscribe to the Raven Space YouTube channel if you're not subscribed. So our first question comes from Charlie, and Charlie asks, do you think the Ravens should try to get Jacoby Jones? Thank you for the question, Charlie. And I would say no. I think Jacoby was a great player for us in his time here, but he's a player that's past his prime. I have recently heard that he's now in the Canadian League, and he's actually doing really well. He returned his first punt return in the Canadian League back for a touchdown. So, again, he's a special player when he was in his prime, especially at returner. But right now, I don't think he can perform at the level in the NFL. If you guys, remember Jacoby was a player who was electric in that 2012 season for us. All season long, he was a great returner. And then even in the postseason, he was a receiver that made explosive plays. We all remember the Mile High Miracle. We all remember the touchdown in San Francisco when he caught it, fell on the ground, got back up, gave a spin move and got into the end zone. And then right after halftime, he took it to the house. So Jacoby was special that year. It was probably his best year in the NFL. And I'm happy that he got a Super Bowl ring for it. When you have a year like that, it's hard when, you get eliminated in the playoffs. But because we won the championship that year, he got a ring to commemorate how special that year was for him. But again, he's a player that's past his prime. When you're a returner, so many different things have to go right for you to be successful. It's not just your skill. It's also the blocking scheme. It's also the people who are actually blocking for you. And nowadays where about 60-70% of the kicks go out the end zone, maybe even more, a player like Jacoby Jones doesn't really have a space in this league like they used to. But again, Jacoby Jones is a great player. I appreciate everything he done for the Ravens, but now he's past his prime. So I think that he should, be fine in the Canadian League, get the little bit of money he can get from them, and then retire and be a good player. You guys got to remember, Jacoby played a lot of years in this league. Before he was with us, he was with the Texans. Then after he was with us, he went to teams like the Steelers. So he played a good time in this league, and he had a good career. So again, thank you so much for your question, Charlie. Please send another one in, and we'll move on to the next question. And our next question is from Kaysen, and Kaysen asks, suppose Flacco plays poorly next season. Will the Ravens consider a quarterback in the first round? It is a stacked class next year. Kaysen, thanks for your question. I don't think they would. I think that the Ravens have other needs, and they're in an all-in mentality. And you can tell by the way they stack their defense that they're going to go all in. They're going to count on Flacco to be consistent on the offense and make the most of the limited players they have over there. And they're going to go all in on defense. And the reason is that to get a quarterback next year, that one of the best quarterbacks, one, you're going to have to be a bad team. And two, if you're not a bad team, you're going to have to trade your future to get up there and get one. Now, I can see the Ravens drafting the quarterback in the 4th round, the 5th round, stuff like that. But Flacco's not at the age yet where you start thinking about quarterbacks, right? He's not like the Ben Roethlisbergers or the Phillip Rivers age quarterbacks. He's younger than them by a couple of years. So maybe in 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years, you start thinking around there. Usually what happens is that you'll start seeing some regression or something like that. But because of Flacco's arm strength, it'll be a slower regression. But I don't think that the Ravens are going to spend a 1st round, 2nd round, or 3rd round pick on a quarterback. Especially when they have needs on the offense already, and they feel that they have a franchise quarterback in Joe Flacco. Again, and to be honest, if Flacco plays poorly, it would be the fault of Ozzie Newsome and John Harbaugh for not getting him any tools in order to be the best player that he can be. But again, so I don't think they will. It's an interesting question. I think maybe 3-4 years down the line, we'll revisit this question, and it could happen. You never know. So thank you so much for your question, Kaysen. And we'll move on to the next one. And this next question is from Jack. And Jack sent in a question before. Thank you so much, Jack. And he asks, what are you expecting coming from Danny Woodhead and our new players this year? So I'm going to go down the list for each player. I'm not going to give stats and specifics like that. But I'll give you the feel on what I think they can do. So I'm going to start with Danny Woodhead. Danny is going to replace Kyle Juszczyk in the pass catching part of the offense. Again, Kyle Juszczyk led all our running backs in receptions last year. So Woodhead replaced that. It gives Joe Flacco that comfort level that we need. I think Danny will be a dark horse in the running game because I don't really see any of our players at running back who can consistently run the ball effectively. And I know a lot of people are excited about Dixon and T West, but they have to actually show it, right? I'm not going to say that they're definitely going to be better than Danny Woodhead just on potential. I don't believe in that, but I do think that they are built better than Danny Woodhead to run the ball. Especially Dixon, who's a bigger back, a stronger back, and has a shiftiness still. But I don't think that you can count Danny Woodhead out on first and second down like a lot of people are doing around the league. So we'll move on to the next. Tony Jefferson is going to be a beast. Tony Jefferson is going to be amazing. Last year you saw Eric Weddle always around the line of scrimmage making tackles. I think Tony Jefferson is better at that than Eric Weddle is. Now, Tony Jefferson isn't as good as in coverage, but as a strong safety position, you don't really need all that. And the Ravens play a defense where there is no strong safety and there is no free safety. Other teams do run that a little bit more. You'll see like the Packers where Clinton Dix is really a free safety, where Ed Reed back in the day was really a free safety who roamed and was responsible for coverage when the strong safety was responsible for hitting tight ends in the mouth and different things like that. But I think the Ravens, they're going to be switching up a lot. But I think Tony Jefferson is instinctive. I think he is a quick safety who is always there. He's always near the ball. And so I think he's going to play awesome. I think he will be one of the leading tacklers on our team. I really think he's that good. And I think he's an awesome player. And he will be the best acquisition from free agency that we get. And then the last free agent acquisition that we got was Brandon Carr. And I don't know how to feel about Brandon Carr because a part of me is saying that he's, going to be a good player. But another part of me is saying that Marlon Humphrey is going to be nipping at his heels. If Humphrey's as good as we all think he's going to be, there's a real chance he might be starting by the middle of the season, and then Brandon Carr gets cut because the way Brandon Carr's contract is structured, that most of it's in that first year, and then you can cut him in the second year and not feel any of the penalty that you get when you cut a player. So I think he'll be a player that can fit into the rotation. He's going to be starting in the beginning of the season, but we have to see where Marlon Humphrey is coming in the training camp and where he is at the end of the season as well. But if I had to rank their productiveness, I would go Tony Jefferson number 1. Tony Jefferson's a beast. I would go Brandon Carr number 2, just because I think in the beginning of the season, he'll get more play time than Danny Woodhead. And then Danny Woodhead number 3. So, thank you so much for your question, Jack. And we'll move on right to the next one. The next question is from Carson, and Carson asks, out of the 3 main receivers, the Ravens are interested in free agency: Eric Decker, Victor Cruz, and Anquan Bolden. Who do you think will get the job, and what will their stats be this year? Love the videos. So thank you, Carson, for the love. I really appreciate it. Now, you guys know, at first, I really thought that Anquan Bolden was going to be a Baltimore Raven. I really did. But now I'm worried because I do think that the Ravens and Victor Cruz are having conversations about, joining the team. And I do think that if Anquan Bolden was interested and if the Ravens were interested, it'd already be done. There's no penalty now for signing players against the comp picks. There's just no reason why it's not being done. The Lions don't want Bolden anymore. They're out of the play. So in my mind, Anquan Bolden only has one person who wants him on the team. And he's, for some reason, either he doesn't want to do it or the Ravens don't want to do it. And with Victor Cruz coming in to meet with the Ravens, I believe this week, I think it's a done deal. I think Victor Cruz is going to be the receiver that is on our team. Eric Decker is a stretch because he's still technically on the Jets. There's rumors that he wants to get cut or they want to cut him. But you can't wait for him to get cut and then him come over. I think last I heard, the Ravens have about $7 million left in cap space, which is enough to sign 2 players. So it depends on, it might not be enough to sign Eric Decker and another player, but it'd be enough to sign Anquan Boldin and Victor Cruz. Especially Anquan Boldin, he can't be making a lot, and Victor Cruz will be an average salary earner. But I really do think that it will be Victor Cruz. If I had to give you his stats, off the top of the head, I would say that Victor Cruz will be the 3rd receiver. I would say 3 touchdowns. I would say 600 yards. And I would say, no, okay, sorry. 3 touchdowns, 400 yards, and I would say 40 receptions, right? Yeah, about 10 yards of reception. So yeah, 3 touchdowns, 400 yards, 45 receptions around there. I think he'll be the 3rd person. He can catch the ball still and run routes. That was always his forte. And when he was in the slot back in his golden days, he was the best slot receiver in football. When the salsa was the hottest dance, before the dab came along. So, and again, if you guys think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. And, if I am wrong, when the season's over, you come back, let me know. So, thank you so much for your question, Carson, and we shall move on. And this is the last question of the day. And the last question comes from Anton. And Anton says, "Hi, Jason. What are your thoughts on our undrafted rookies, especially on wide receivers and our fullback, Ricky Ortiz, who stay in our 53-man roster?" So I think that Ricky Ortiz has a good chance to be on the 53-man roster. I'm not an expert at fullbacks. I'm not going to lie to you. I think I know offensive linemen more than I know fullbacks. But I think that because we don't have a fullback, he has a good chance unless we move another player like Boyle to fullback. But I think he has a chance. He's going to have competition, right? So we'll see. But I can give you 3 players that you should watch who I think have a great chance to be on the Ravens team, the 53-man roster. And one is not for me. One's from Mel Kiper. 2 of them are for me. So the one from Mel Kiper is Taquan Mizell. Mizell is a running back, shifty zone runner. Again, reminds me of a Justin Forsett. Of course, he's a little bigger than Justin Forsett, but like I said, he's not dynamic and like Jamal Charles or Ezekiel Elliott type of way, of course. But he can find the holes. He can get up in the holes, and if the offensive line is good, similar to Justin Forsett, he can get you 4 yards, 6 yards, those chunks that really demoralize a defense. If you guys remember, Justin Forsett was not a great running back. He was great at finding the holes and was able to get through the holes. But if you put him on a team like the Rams, who offensive line has been bad for several years, it wouldn't have worked out. So my picks are, the first one is Quincy, I can't pronounce his name, Adeboyojo, from Mississippi, 6'3", 200 pounds. So he's good in the slot and he's fast. When you have a big, fast slot receiver, your team changes because most teams only have one corner that's 5'11", right? And that's a big corner, right? And for you to have a slot receiver that's 6'3", you have to force the cornerback coach to make an adjustment because most teams can't handle that. So I think he has a good chance to make the team. Now, I don't know if this guy has a good chance to make the team, but I want him to make the team. Is Tim Patrick, wide receiver, Utah, 6'5", 210. He's fast. Like, I like him a lot. A lot of people have been comparing him to Darren Waller. I don't think that's apt because Waller is slow. I think Waller is slow, but Tim is faster than that. I think it would be so cool to have a 6'5" red zone target for Joe Flacco. You see a lot of teams going this route where they go get bigger receivers and teach them how to run routes. You see this happening, especially in Carolina with Cam Newton, where he has Calvin Benjamin, where you can just throw it around him and he'll make the catch. So, and those are the three I think. So, I don't know, exactly who's going to make it. They have to perform in training camp. After training camp, I'll be able to tell you, but those are the three that I think. So thank you so much, Anton. And that's it for today's show. Thank you guys so much. Please send your questions into theravensspace@gmail.com. We do this every Monday. I truly, truly appreciate it. And remember, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to the Raven Space for more great Baltimore Ravens content. Thank you guys so much, and go Ravens.